Let me get this thing off here. There we go. Wow, it looked like a disaster. This is what happens when you're trying to do 20 things at once, first thing in the morning, and your life just becomes, a little bit of chaos, but let's be honest, I kind of like it that way. Good morning, Prairie Sun. Lisa, I saw that meme. Lisa, I love you. I already copied that from online. But that was Elisa's put up the meme on Locals, because on the Locals chat you can actually post images. She put the meme, the Black Lives Matter, which is the new slogan of the Liberal Party, I guess. It used to be vote for us or you're a racist. Isn't that how it was? I don't know. I could be wrong about that. I'm not in the Liberals communication team. Megan, good morning. I know it's a Sunday morning, and for people out west, it's a little bit earlier than I normally do it, but I got to get to New York, and I got a ton of stuff that I got to do today. And good morning, and a good, amazing, and positive morning to all of you. I hope we're going to start things in a positive way, and today we're going to try to turn up the positivity and just address a few negative things, I think, quickly, and not really dwell on them, and focus on all the good things that are going on in the world right now. And there is, look, there's always amazing things that are happening, whether people understand Elon Musk or not. I think he's an example of somebody who's put positive change in the world, and especially what he's done with Twitter. These are all amazing things that are happening. Like right now, jokes are now back on Twitter. It's amazing. And Twitter's actually become fun, which it was not fun for quite a while when it became, political hackery. But it is what it is. Good morning, K9. I'm glad to see you as well. K9's been causing some trouble and posting some things. And you know what? You know the trouble that K9's causing? She's posting the truth. And some people just don't like that. But thank you for all of that. And I hope you all are going to have this amazing day, and please like, share, subscribe this stream with everybody. I promise I will. I think I've kept this promise. I've tried my best, and I think those of you who've known me for a while know I will never lie to you. I will always tell you the truth, because I have so many things going on in my life. Like I can't take up bandwidth by feeding people BS and trying to keep track of it. I really can't. Good morning, Amanda. How you doing? It's good to see you. And Megan, well, truth is violence. No, yes, apparently everything is violence. Everything we don't like is violence. Why? Because violence is a word that has, significant connotations and impact, and that's why they do that. Let me just put the charger on here so this doesn't die. We're down to 10% there. So if anything flickers or whatever with Locals, let me know. Give me a holler. I think we'll be okay today. So a couple of things. You'll notice the thumbnail that I had put up today that I just, you know what? I wonder if I can grab that thumbnail, because that was very, very useful. I got to start doing this. I got to start having these I want to start bringing things into the stream, into the screen, so you guys can see sort of what I'm talking about as I'm talking about them. And I don't know, kind of like evidence in a commission or testimony or court hearing, which we're going to talk about in a second. Okay. So here I'm going to put this up. This is a tweet yesterday, and I'm not going to rehash a lot of this stuff. So I kind of want to move beyond this, but just something to address. Hold on, I just got to type something to somebody who I'm helping out with something. Spent like an hour this morning helping somebody out who's going through some issues in their life and giving some life advice. And so I just got to send this. Okay. Oops, that's the wrong link. Hold on. I'm trying to read your comments and type comments and speak at the same time and think. See? Men can multitask, right? Anyways, so this tweet was from Daniel Boardman. It says, "From the horse's mouth, this organization are not lawyers but political activists." And it's from, my former lawyer saying, our legal team made the decision to shift focus from law to politics and add a voice for the millions of harmed Canadians, and blah, blah, blah. He goes on. So that's not what a legal proceeding is for. That's not what this commission was for. This commission was legal argumentation. So the justice, who is a presiding judge on the appeals court, can put together a report that will better inform Canadians. And as Amanda put it yesterday, let me put this back up there, this could have detrimental effects on Canadian jurisprudence in the future when it just becomes political. Like, why do we have to politicize everything? Like, not everything, like, obviously, the circumstances around the commission were political, but we need to do law. And, this backs up what I've been saying this entire time. I had a friend of mine who called me during the convoy and warned me and said, keep away from the people who are hovering around you. They don't practice legal argumentation. They practice political activism. Or she didn't say political. She said, they practice activism because, and that's why many people had left the organization. It always stuck in the back of my head, and that's why I was always trying to keep them at bay at some sort of distance. So apparently it seems they were going to have meetings amongst themselves that they called board meetings. But in order to have a board meeting, you have to have, quorum and enough members of the board, which they never once had. So, anyways, and there was no formality in Ottawa. Ottawa was constant chaos. There was very little formality in all the stuff that we were doing because we were all just constantly putting out fires every day. So the historical rewrite, I'm not going to rehash it because there's enough out there. Diverge Media has done a couple of articles. They just put up some video that they sent to me yesterday that I looked at very quickly. There's a Rebel News interview that myself and Jim Kalaharios did with Sheila Gunn-Reid. So, there's enough out there. I'm sure there's more to come because I saw some posts today where people are filling in the gaps and figuring out what happened. And I can kind of just, not have to, you guys can all put this all together. You don't need my commentary. So, but anyways, I just wanted to bring up that important point that, because I'm going to get on to the commission a little bit. So just remember that, okay? And the other thing is, the truth will come out eventually. It just takes time, right? But really what concerned me, and this is, the negatives that we're going to try to turn into positives, it's just the amount of contempt for the truckers in the commission during the entire process. That I hardly ever heard the word trucker mentioned. The guys who, middle class, working class people, showed up in Ottawa at great financial cost to themselves. 39 trucking companies got their license pulled by Doug Ford. And so again, this is not liberal conservative. They're both on the provincial conservative level and the federal liberal level. They're all contemplating. They're all complicit in all of this, and so I got really frustrated with the narrative that was going through. But it was just really disappointing for me that it seemed nobody cared about the truckers. It was just political. It was political hackery the entire time, and using people as political pawns and to score political points. And that's why some of the evidence that I submitted, of which there's 109 pieces of evidence relevant to my testimony that we will go through. We're going to do that on locals. I think we're going to start doing that when I can on Saturday nights. honkingforfreedom.locals.com, and we'll go through it. We won't do it next week because next week I got the video from the speech that I gave in Boston. And I think I'm going to do a premiere online next Saturday night. Maybe we'll make it a little drinking party. And we'll preview the video, and then we'll just do Hangout or a space or something like that, and just make it fun. And because I'd like to get your feedback on that speech and some of the things that I covered with the people in Massachusetts. So potentially next weekend on Saturday night, we'll do that. I'll let you know more. Lisa says they didn't mention the hacker. Why was he not arrested? I think he's facing charges now, Lisa. This is on locals. But somebody mentioned the hacker at some point in the last few days, just as a passing comment. And it was really disturbing that it's okay for people to call themselves, what did he refer to himself? A digital terrorist or something like that is the words that he used to describe himself. And, they didn't pounce on it. And in fact, the media and the RCMP used that list that they obtained from a hacker to harass people. Like, what's going on, people? Like, we just got to stop. Just everybody calm down. And that's why I said in my statement on Jordan Peterson's podcast, on the tail end of my statement, it said, all the things that the truckers want and do not want. One of the things that we wanted is we want the media and the political class to tone down their rhetoric, because I didn't say it this way, but they're causing our society to go insane. They're causing everything to go nuts. They got to stop. Just go back to being boring politicians that half the people don't want to hear from, and the media has got to cut the BS and just regurgitating statements from the political class as state stenographers. Like, just let's stop. Because all of us, when the media and the politicians don't get in the way, irrespective of our differences, we all come together, right? They're the ones who are driving the wedge between all of us. So hopefully we'll go in that direction. I think we will. I think it's just going to take a little bit of time. Amanda says, digital terrorists that the police and government used. Exactly. So it was okay for the police and the government to use him, right? It's so frustrating. It's really frustrating. Right, that would be even harder. A better story for Miller to bring up to light the Nazi flag thing. Oh my God, yeah, the Nazi flag thing. And that came from political actors in my community who just wanted to use that to protect Justin Trudeau because, and I mentioned this in one of the press conferences, because we have a lot of leadership in all communities, in all these, identity communities. They're all just run by hacks who want to be appointed senators or want appointments in the government or want to have favor for the government or elevate themselves as if their S doesn't stink in the community. And they're just the worst people, the worst people you ever meet. And Amanda says, we are harder to control when we are not divided. And that's why I've said throughout this time, I talked a lot about this when I was down south in a number of interviews that I did. I think we all have to have friends on the other side of the political aisle. So my friends that are into cars with me and motorcycles and whatever, we all have different political views. We're not talking about politics when we're wrenching on cars. Well, it's been a couple of years since we've had the chance to do that. We're just, talking about what we're interested in. And I think we're going to be better off if we shift over to that a little bit. BJ is the only political actor that needs to be exposed. Oh, here we go. What other convoy leader has a book out? Just good old BJ. Well, Andrew Lawton wrote a book, but he's not a convoy leader. And I dedicated, 6 months of my life to getting the story out. And it's a beautiful story. And I have a comment I'm going to read at the end that I'm sure you're going to love about the effect that book is having. And that book is important because, hold on, where is the book? My other one's on the other table. This book here, and that book here, that book is something that cost me a lot of money to put this together. But that is a tool for you to reach out to people who don't understand the importance and significance of the convoy. So I've done this, Throttle. I've done this for you, so you can take this and share it with people and wake them up in terms of what's going on in the country, in society, and what a beautiful moment the convoy was and how it brought us all together. If that's a problem for you, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, okay, so you want us all to be angry at each other and at each other's throats? Maybe it's not the right stream for you, man, because this is us trying all to be good to each other, right? At least that's what I'm trying to do. So thank you for the question, though. Should one of the lawyers be questioning why Freeland had the earpiece and who was telling her what to say? It was caught on video, and live mic was on. Was on and could hear her. Yeah, you heard her say. I heard her say, and I wasn't watching all that closely because I was a little bit busy. I heard her say, "Did this? I can't hear you. I can't hear you." And like we know she's kind of an airhead. But who's the ones telling her? Oh, is it Jerry? Is it Jerry Butts, the guy who didn't have the balls to come for coffee with us? Is he telling them what to say, or is it Katie? Anyways, Katie Telford, the lobbyist, who is Trudeau's chief of staff, and the Conservative Party, the deputy leader, who is also a lobbyist and the one who lobbied for Walmart during the lockdowns. So it's a mess all over the place. Hopefully they'll have the wisdom to fix this, and if we speak openly about it, that will help infer their wisdom, at least I hope. Okay. So I think I got everybody's comments there. Sorry, guys. I'm just bouncing all over the place, and I have 20 things going through my mind. David, good morning. K9, yes, hacker was raided by the FBI. Yeah, he was eventually raided and is facing charges. I think the guy's just got a screw loose, or he's got some drugs or meth issue would be my guess. I don't know how many computer programmers growing up around computers and being on bulletin boards and all that sort of stuff. That's why I have a greater knowledge of some of this stuff than people in the rest of the trucking convoy and all that sort of stuff. Why I understand Bitcoin and got into it many, many years ago. Computer programmers tend to be very intense, very binary sort of people. We joke in the Bitcoin community. We call each other. They call each other autists. Just really intense, and especially coders that are a certain type of character. Like I'm horrible at programming. I gave up on that many, many years ago. And a lot of them get into really hard drugs just to keep awake. I'm willing to bet he's one of those people that was on something to keep him coding or hacking or whatever he's doing. And he's also a streamer and TikTok and all that sort of stuff. I bet you he was not sleeping much. I bet you he was sleeping maybe 2 hours a day, if that. And he was hyped. He was on drugs the entire time. That's at least what I saw. When he had that meltdown, he was yelling at the camera. That was some sort of manic reaction. I think that was drug induced. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. Michelle Mars says there's a TikTok showing Freeland and the earpiece. Yeah, I don't doubt it. I think they were both. They both had ear piecings. You can't really tell by looking now that earpieces are so small. They're not measured in micron meters, but they're quite small. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they had some sort of bug telling them what to say. So, right, the MSM in Canada is far left wing. I don't know what can be done except ignore them, which is exactly what I did. That was my strategy throughout the Freedom Convoy. Now, unfortunately, some people who came in and flew in to save us from bloodshed screwed that up. It would have been so much more effective. That's how we were getting so much momentum. That's one of the many data points I used that I knew would get us momentum by freezing out the mainstream media. And they eventually started chasing. Angelo from the Post Millennial told me they were all having laughs in the Post Millennial headquarters because the CBC and CTV mainstream media had to subscribe to the Post Millennial to log on to their feed to get to get access to the pressers and all that sort of stuff. So that's why they know our full context, because they were watching us as the Post Millennial was streaming them. I think it was Beth who was doing that. Beth, who's a great independent journalist who works, I think, on contract for the Post Millennial, if I'm not mistaken. Beth Biasic. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. She's quite amazing. I watched the majority of the EA Commission. It appears that the sole reason for the organizing convoy was to protest against the mandate, CV injunctions for the truckers, and the lockdowns, i.e. CV-19 protocols. We have a constitutional right to petition our government over real or perceived grievances. 100%. I think people will start to realize that over time. That's also why I did this, because I'm hoping this will be seen as one of the most legitimate historical records of what happened during that period for exactly that point. So I'm with you. Robert says, in response to the literal Christ, no one can write a book anymore without being accused of exploitation. I agree. And listen, I knew this whole process would be politicized at some point in the commission or in an investigation or whatever. And that's why I wanted to get the story. Myself and John Goddard wanted to get the story out. That's John right there. Very, very seasoned investigative journalist and author and good friend. And that's why we wanted to get the story out for all of you so you knew the truth. And so that is, talking about turning negatives into positive. I hope this is the positive. And by the way, maybe a great stocking stuffer for your liberal friends, right? You might think it's a gag order, but I bet you there's a reason there's no prologue, introduction, any of that sort of stuff. It's just chapter 1 and you're right into the story, because I know if you have somebody who's teetering or an open-minded liberal, and if they get a copy of this book, if they open the first page, I'm hoping they'll be hooked and want to continue reading. That's the only, I tried to, I said to John, let's do the format kind of the way I do podcasts, which you're just right into it. And I think it worked. And I'll talk about those comments in a couple minutes. D2, good morning from PEI. I missed your streams a few days ago. Happy to be here. Thanks. I appreciate it. Never been to PEI, but my biological brother grew up going to a cottage there over the summers. And he keeps telling me how beautiful it is and that he wants to take me out there at some time. Blackface is a complete liar during the testimony. Absolutely disgusting. They all lied. Everybody, they all lied. Everybody did. Not everybody, but you know what I mean. It was. It became just. It became Trudeau bad, conservatives good. At least that was the narrative that on one side they were trying to paint forward. There was a lot of lies, we'll just say, and it was because they had parliamentary immunity, right? We couldn't figure out why was our former lawyer a witness, and if he was a witness, why was he sitting with the lawyers? Which one is it? He's a lawyer or a witness? It didn't make, from a legal framework, it didn't make sense, and because he had parliamentary immunity, he could say whatever he wants. So I don't know, K9, maybe you have something to comment on that, because I saw you posted something earlier today that refuted some of his claims that were on the record. But he seems to have reiterated. Anyways, well, I'm not going to... There's a lot going on right now. Well, let's forget it. You should send it to Warren Kinsella. Did you see his article today? Warren Kinsella? Who the hell's that? Who is that? A political guy, or I don't know. Anyways, Risa, just let me know who that is, okay? What do you think Blackface will be saying about protests in China? Will he side with the people of CCP? Oh, what a tangled, corrupt web we weave, right? Quite difficult. He is going to say nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I hope it goes the truckers' way. It's going to go neutral. It's going to go, it's not going to, I don't think it's going to go either way. It's going to go into, truckers bad, government bad. You don't do it again, and this is the changes you need to legislation. That's all we're going to see. But anyways, back to my original point, the contempt for the truckers was really disheartening, that it seemed to be everybody was being used as a political pawn by political parties that were using this commission for B-roll footage for an upcoming a political campaign, if that's the case. Or if not, if it gets significantly smeared, then nobody's going to talk about it. And they're going to try to pretend, the political class is going to try to pretend that it never happened. And that's why I did I had John did an article on my Substack, BJdichter.substack.com, on Steve Charlin from Quebec, who was arrested a week after the protest, didn't have a truck in Ottawa, but has a pretty sizable following, I guess, and brought lots of people to Ottawa to join in the celebrations of peace, love, unity, and freedom. Apparently that's a threat. Is that violence too? Is peace, love, unity, and freedom violence? I can't wait till they start saying peace is violence. That's kind of the next deviation. That's what they're going to do. But if you haven't read that article about Steve and what happened to him, I suggest you do, BJdichter.substack.com. The guy was just completely wiped out, or his banks just, canceled everything. Quite disturbing. And that's exactly what's going on in Brazil right now. As I mentioned last time, the template that was used in Canada is being used by the extremists on the left in Brazil to do exactly the same thing. So get used to this. That's why I say Bitcoin, because you need an off-ramp, you need a hedge against all of this stuff, irrespective of the fluctuation in value. Despite the fact some of us bought Bitcoin at 9 cents, some of us buy Bitcoin at a few $100s, and it's at, I don't know, it's at 20,000 US Canadian right now, something like that. What I miss? We talked about the earpiece yet? Yes, we did, Alyssa, and they're all just they're all ventriloquist puppets. It seems that there's, the senior staffers or the people the big brain people in the political parties are just regurgitating responses to them and whatever. Warren Kinsella is a liberal cuck. Okay, yeah. Oh, is he that guy? Yeah, one of those people like the boomer political guys who think they're important. He's on Twitter or something, right? I don't know. Those people don't exist in my world, so I don't really care. They have zero credibility, so doesn't make a difference to me. Yes, it's possible. The earpieces can be hidden quite easily. Yeah, new generation earpieces are tiny. K9, she says, R.E. Wilson, so much to pick from, through the convoy under the bus, through you under the bus, R.E. Bitcoin, regardless of immunity. What lawyer does this to their clients? Yeah, I don't know. It's whatever. It is what it is, because got to move on beyond that. But I agree. And thank you I saw you posted some stuff. And Diverge is doing a great job. I think the National Telegraph is doing an article on some of this stuff. They've been doing some research, so they may be coming out with something as well. And the interview with, for the people who are biased to Rebel News, you can go watch my interview with Sheila Gunn-Reid and Jim Kalaharios. And we explain everything. And all the smears, why didn't you get arrested? Where's the crypto? Firstly, not crypto, Bitcoin. But where's the Bitcoin? Where's this and that? I answer every single question like I've done the entire time because that's the truth, and I'm not bending from that. People like it or don't like it. It is what it is. John, hey, what's up, brother? What are your thoughts on James Bowder, Bear Hug 2.0? He's advertising another convoy to Ottawa. How do I take control of my frustration? Because I'd like to do what I did right. I like to do right now what I did in that Twitter space a couple of days ago. But I will remain calm. No, don't do anything. Nothing right now. Nothing. Let's wait until first the report comes out. Let's see. The political winds are always changing in Canada, and we've changed them significantly to the point that blackface has zero credibility around the world. And the only people who think he's credible are the lunatics on the far left who are losing their minds about my Grand Theft there it is, Grand Theft Auto 5 on the shelf behind me. And those people are just lunatics. I don't care what they think, right? That's the fringe. They use the term fringe all the time. Those are the people, unfortunately, that have political power right now, are the people who are the lunatic postmodernist fringe. And they're irrelevant. They have peaked, and I believe they're starting to sunset because around the world, regular normie people who just aren't politically engaged, even they're fed up with the nonsense, right? Just takes time for them to understand what's going on. Thanks, BJ. I was very interested in Steve Charlin. I'll check that out. Substack, yes, bjdichter.substack.com. It's a fascinating story. People didn't pay a lot of attention to it in his testimony during the commission, and I think it's because he's more comfortable speaking in French. But from what I understand, it resonated in French Canada quite a bit, and that's why I wanted to bring attention to that to English Canada so everybody understood what's going on there as well. I think we got to do more communication into Quebec and outside of bring the Quebec stories to English Canada so people understand that we're all really fighting the same fight and we're all really dealing with the same thing and we all really support each other. And Quebec was so much worse during the lockdowns with Lego, right? So is what it is. I'm No DJ Productions, Bitcoin rules. So if you're in Canada, I'm No DJ. I'm going to be apparently keynote speaker at Bitcoin Canada this year, which is going to be held. They just told me the date. 2 days, I can't remember what it is. It's in June, I believe. June or July. I'll talk about this more as we get closer to it. So if you're into Bitcoin, come to Toronto, come to Bitcoin Canada. Let's hang out, meet each other. I'm probably going to talk about the Freedom Convoy and the book and Bitcoin's role in the Freedom Convoy, and it'll be great. Bitcoin Miami was awesome, and I don't know that Bitcoin Canada will be quite as big as Bitcoin Miami, but and of course it's not Miami, my favorite city in the world, but it is what it is, and it'll be lots of fun. So come, John James has restrictions. I think his heart is in the right place, but this is not the time or place. His heart's in the right place, but his brain is not in the right place. Is the best way to describe it. Karen, hey Karen, MasterCard is jumping on cryptocurrency. Well, you mean Bitcoin? This is very, very important. I'm not going to get into Bitcoin too much, okay? And at some point, I know some of you have questions, so I bring you into the Twitter spaces that I do with DJ Satoshi, and we talk about Bitcoin for newbies and all that sort of stuff. But Bitcoin is not cryptocurrency. They're completely different. It's a type of cryptocurrency, you can argue. It is a decentralized currency that is spread across millions of computers, that there's no Bitcoin company, there's no Bitcoin executive. It's like coronavirus on millions of computers that you can use to store value, meaning a coronavirus. It's like a virus virus is a bad word because it has negative connotations. But the point is, it can't be stopped, right? So it's spread all over the world, and you can transact in it. Cryptocurrency, as people know it, or these ERC20 derivative tokens on Ethereum or Theta Chain or Polkadot, whatever. Those are centralized. Businesses own them. They're owned by companies. They have a CEO. They have a board of directors. All that sort of stuff, which is why governments can lean on them. That's what Bitcoin was trying to solve, that problem, and it did. So it's just a digitization of centralized tokens. So they're completely different. I'm not going to get into any more than that, but just so you know, if anybody has more questions, we'll talk about it or come into our stuff. Okay, a couple more questions. I'm going to get into that in a second, but just a couple of more things. So Steve Charlin, read the Substack. His story is important, and please share it with as many people in English Canada. It's kind of like my shout out to our brothers in Quebec that we support each other. We have differences, but we're here for you as well, and they are from us as well. Oh, Dave, you're in Australia. Are you locked in a quarantine camp? Where in Australia are you? Anyways, thank you, Dave, for being here. I really appreciate it. That's awesome of you. So the last thing that keeps coming up is faith in the inquiry. And people are concerned that it's politicized, that the justice was friends with Trudeau's father. Sometimes, I heard people saying he would cut off like Convoy stuff, but he wouldn't cut off Trudeau. I think that's a little bit of inherent bias, and we all have them. I have them too. I think the justice was pretty lenient with most people. It's never going to be perfect. That's just the way it is. But my comment is this, and I've said this before, and hear me out here. The Justice Rouleau is a seasoned justice. He's been a justice for 20, 30 years? Like quite a while. He was appointed by Paul Martin, I believe. And there is friction in the Liberal Party, a lot of friction. And I was made aware of that friction during the convoy as people, in the Liberal Party were contacting me to tell me that they're frustrated with blackface, that they understood some of the grievances. There might be differences of opinion and tactic, but they understood. Okay, So justice, and by the way, no, let's not do Ben's a liberal guy. No, I'm not part of the liberal. I'm not part of any party. To be entirely honest right now, because they'll make me sick. But the justice is he's at the tail end of his career. He is on the Court of Appeals, from what I understand. He's been put into one of the most prestigious avenues that you can have in law, in Canadian jurisprudence, is to preside over a commission with your own name on it. I don't believe a seasoned justice like him is so politicized that he is going to stake his legacy on protecting a political party. I think that's why you're going to see a ruling that's going to be, like I said before, truckers bad, government bad, don't do it again. These are changes, amendments to the Emergency Measures Act. And that's how governance works in Canada. And sometimes it sucks. But that's also the product of having a stable society. And you learn that living in third world countries where there were dictatorships or there is mass instability, that it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes it's a negative and sometimes it's a positive. And this is one of those scenarios where, like, let's assume he comes out and he says, Trudeau is like a dictator. The Rouleau says Trudeau's a dictator, illegitimate government, completely violated international law. Then what? So then do we abandon the electoral system, and do we drag out a leader out of office? And believe me, I would love that too. I would love it. But what are the long-term ramifications for that? That would introduce massive instability into the system. Maybe that's what we need, but maybe not. I don't know. I'm not, But it's just something to consider. You got to consider all the knock-on effects from these things. And I would love for them to drag him out of office yesterday. I think we're going to have an election soon. So I don't think we have to worry all that much. I put in my Substack, I did that argument that we're going to have an election before the end of the year. It looks like that's not going to happen. But if we have it in the first quarter, even second quarter of 2023, can you give me a win or give me 75% there? Because I think we're getting very close to that. And things will change. Things are going to get better because they're getting better all over the world, save for the exception of Latin America, where you see what's happening in Brazil, Chile, Colombia with Petro. It is what it is. But Sweden has elected a conservative government. Italy has gone in the direction away from WF and the European Union. So there is change on the horizon, and that's a good thing. But let's let it go slowly. It's not a magic button that you press and boom, overnight things change, because that's massive instability. And that doesn't benefit any of us who have families or businesses, investments here. Instability is not a good thing. It's not at all. So I would love to have them drag him out of office tomorrow, kicking and screaming by his heels. And but would that be good for the long-term stability of the country? I don't know. But let's get into election as quickly as possible is what I suggest. And that's why when they say, oh, another convoy, it's like, stop. Just stop. Stop. It's so frustrating, Everybody wants to be famous is what it boils down to, in my opinion. Bowder is a whack job and not allowed in Ottawa right now. So he's pushing it. He's claiming the convoy. He is talking about to unite pro and con truckers and mandates. The way to do that, the way to unite people across the political spectrum is not to stage another convoy. It's to tell a positive story about how we all came together and loved each other in a time of peace and calm. That's the way to do it. But another convoy, all that does is get people's backs up. So I don't think it's going to happen. I know some people around him. I've told them, WTF, what are you doing? And even the people around him, don't support it as well. So I wouldn't worry about it. You can tell the fake news CTV and Punchy McGregor, calm down. You can calm down, boy. You might see a little bit of I don't want to say convoy, but a grouping together, a mini convoy like they had in BC and Alberta throughout the cross-country convoy of people just coming together in solidarity. That's awesome. That's great. Go to local county fair, bring 50 trucks together, have a barbecue, celebrate freedom in Canada. That's amazing. I'm all down for that. That is great. Just don't go anywhere near Ottawa. Remember, words are violence. It's that lunatic who was denied a promotion in the Ottawa Police Services said. Sonia, I know nothing about Bitcoin. Well, you can ask Risa, because Risa knew nothing about Bitcoin until after the convoy, and she started coming into the spaces with me and DJ. And now she's like a pro Bitcoiner. She's given advice. She's like a developer. I'm kind of joking, but she really understands it, and it gives you a little bit of extra layer of security because you now know you have options. Is it the best option? Listen, it's going to fluctuate because it's a new asset class that never existed, but over time it gets more stability. Bitcoin used to be like 80% swings hour to hour. So when people are like, oh yeah, Bitcoin dropped by 60% over 6 months, it's like, wow, okay, great. At least that's not hour to hour anymore. And it'll get progressively more stable over time. John says, I worked with James on a BC-wide convoy, and by the end of it, most of us cut ties with him due to his constant promotion of Canada unity and claims he was more than he was. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of showboating. There's a lot of people who just want to be famous. And I know some famous people, and that's why I'm always like, I was apprehensive just doing this stream, and I got a little taste of it again during the convoy. What some of my friends, and I used to date somebody who was quite famous, and it's horrible. It's the worst. The last thing you want to be is famous. Believe me, you don't want to do that. Do you know Susan Stanfield at all? She lives in England. Her live last night spoke on how the Europeans have a very negative view of Trudeau. He's not a popular guy abroad. Lori, in Latin America, when I've always gone back and forth. I have friends there. I go there to visit on vacation when I can. And when Trudeau was elected, he's adorable, he's amazing, he's young and hip, and I'm like, no, he's problematic. And that went on over the years until after I spoke at Bitcoin Miami, and I figured, okay, I got a month to kill. Why don't I just go down and see Mike and some friends with my broken ankle? I'll just kind of sit there, but I have a beautiful view of the city as I learn to walk again and go to some physio, which is why I went down to Colombia, just because I know so many people there, and it cost me nothing to go there to visit friends, right? And all my friends now call in Colombia who know nothing about politics and thought, oh, he's amazing. They now call him Cara Negra Fidelito, which means blackface little Fidel. That's how he's referred to throughout Latin America. So, yeah, he's not popular anyway. Anyway, it's great. Both Bitcoin and digital currencies use cryptocurrency, and maybe that's why most are confused about it. I think what's happening is the mainstream media and the financial system is trying to confuse people and conflate the two. So people just put in the same basket Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. They don't understand there's a separation. It's really fascinating, I got to be honest. For those of you who, I know a lot of people are really skittish about newer technology, especially around their money, so I get that, believe me. I had to go through this with my parents and other people. I go on Mark Petroni's show sometimes to talk when he wants to talk about Bitcoin, and his audience is kind of that same demographic. All new things can be intimidating, and I get that. But it's the same as, I remember going to the bank when I was a little kid, and ATMs were just coming out in Canada. They'd been in the US for a while, but they just finally came in Canada. And I must have been, 5 years old. And there was a Royal Bank at Bayview, York Mills. and I saw this machine. I was a little kid, and I asked, like all kids, I asked my dad everything. So I said to, and I saw, I was, already had a computer at home, and I was interested in computers. So I saw this computer and a screen. I was like, oh, wow. Like, Daddy, what is that? And he said, oh, that's one of those automatic bank machines. And my dad was not resistant to technology. He intentionally had a computer because he wanted myself and my brother to understand computers. And he taught computers in his school. So I said to him, well, are you going to use that? And I think he said to me, I don't remember this part entirely accurate, but I think he was skeptical. And he said, yeah, I don't know if those things will catch on. So we're going to line up and wait for the person in line. And maybe about 6 months later, he was using a bank machine. He finally decided to use it, had somebody explain it to him, started to use it, and I think he never turned back. And I look at Bitcoin as the same process. We talk about orange pilling in the Bitcoin community, trying to get people aware of Bitcoin. I think it's the same process as ATMs. Eventually, everybody will use it at some point for various different purposes. And if there's no dire need, then you're going to take your time to onboard onto the network. But the Convoy, I think, was a significant jump in that. And that's why Pompliano, refers to Trudeau as the chief marketing officer of Bitcoin when he froze everybody's bank accounts and made everybody realize in order to have access to your money, 3 people have to consent. You, the government, and your bank. Is that your money? You don't have that problem with Bitcoin. Okay, enough of Bitcoin. I'm not going to get into too much detail because I know it turns some people off. I think I watched the stream he did and was like, WTF, I can't stomach the man. I watched him for comic relief. Yeah, it's just kind of like just throwing S at the wall and hoping something's going to stick. And I just, whatever, it is what it is. Sonia, me either on RE Bitcoin. I have figured out Twitter first. Jesse, come to Twitter. If you're on Twitter, follow me, and then we'll work through it together. And if you want to learn about Bitcoin, then come to the Bitcoin Canada convention in June or July, whenever it is. I'll let you know the date. Let's hang out, and you'll learn everything you need to know about Bitcoin, or come into the Twitter Spaces. DJ does really beginner base level, for people who are completely new to it, and no judgment. There's no stupid question, because even I, a technical person, was completely confused and lost when I started with Bitcoin. Is Rouleau related to blackface? I don't believe so. From the worst I've heard is that he was friends with his father. Does that mean anything? I don't know. I think everybody in the Liberal Party were just friends, political friends, but that's all I know. Freeland had an earbud coaching her, yada, yada, yada. 100% China, Russia, North Korea, Cuba in the world. We're conflating a lot of stuff. I'm not disagreeing with you. It's just a really long comment to get through in the stream. But I think we're all kind of on the same page. And we know there's what you're referring to as political entryism in Canada. And political entryism is a significant problem. We know that. And nobody is disagreeing. So we're all on the same page. That's why when people attack me, the Convoy, oh, Dichter, don't trust him. I'm like, what the fuck, man? We're supposed to be all on the same side. All I did was what Tamara asked me to make it as big as possible, and I think I did a pretty good job from a media strategy point, I didn't anticipate all the meddling from people who are connected to political parties, but that wasn't me, and I did my best to keep them away. And one day I'll talk about all the things I had to do to try to keep them as far away as possible. That's why apparently pushing them as far away as possible meant they were having board meetings, the lawyers. It's so funny. Kudos to you, Ben. I can stand back and accept Rouleau as an unbiased matter. How hard I try. Good on you. We all have biases, but remember, the role of a judge is to try to be as unbiased as possible. Is it perfect? Of course not. People aren't perfect. But let's not judge him before the report comes out. Let's try to be understanding and let's put some faith in him. I thought he gave a lot of leeway. Let's remember that. He didn't have to agree to allow my lawyer, Jim Carahalios, he didn't have to allow him to lead me in questions, even though there was a rule allowing for it. But he was really lenient, and he was lenient because it was the first time ever a commission was held under this legislation, and he doesn't want to be the guy to make all the mistakes and gets criticized all throughout history. So he's going to try to be lenient with people. And I got to tell you, I was really upset when he denied my request for standing, because I would have loved to have Jim Carahalios cross-examine Keith Wilson. You couldn't pay me enough money for that, and we were pushing for that as much as possible. But the justice denied that. He denied that. So I was really, really frustrated. But he granted some leeway during the testimony to everybody, and so let's give him a chance. I also met with John before the testimony, who works for the commission, and I think John was an honest actor. I think they all were, to be entirely honest. The commission is trying to be a third party the best they could, and of course Trudeau is going to try to pick a justice that will be as favorable as possible. And you know, in the world of jurisprudence, favorable is as neutral as possible. Let's see what happens, right? Let's not all get upset, and let's. The sun is shining. Life is beautiful. We all have our family and friends. We've had a bunch of bumps in the road over the past couple of years. We're still going to have bumps in the road, but let's appreciate all the good things that we have, right? Instead of promoting another convoy, which most can agree is not the right time, we should be working together within our communities to spread truth and unity and bring in guest speakers flying the flag. John, brother, that's why I love you. You know, like John is a good, solid, hardworking trucker in northern BC. He's a good friend. He's pragmatic, and he loves people and wants us all to come together. And John, I can't thank you enough for your friendship, brother. It really means a lot to me, and I can't wait to see you next. It's great. Yes, Twitter can be very overwhelming. Listen, everything new can be overwhelming. Okay, there isn't going to be a ruling. Yeah, that's true. Jody, perfect. Yeah, there's not going to be a ruling. There's going to be a report with recommendations. That's another very important thing, right? So what's the report going to say? The report's going to say we're all bad and do this in the future, and that's it. So there are still many people out there that would support the convoys, but we can't. We can work a computer. We have to get out the hidden media outlets. Agreed. And, you know, we're also, I think what we saw is some of the independent media are not so independent is another thing that resulted from all of this. But whatever. It is what it is. I believe the next election will be the breaking point. That's what everybody always thinks, right? They thought that in the last 3 elections. And you know what? What we do have in this country, despite all the corruption, and it's the number one place in the world to launder money, we do have stability in our daily lives, and we got to appreciate it and make sure that we retain that. But in a true democracy, there are no political prisoners. I agree 100%. And Tamara was targeted, but you know, sometimes the blame lies with the council, right? It's the lawyers will always say, "Oh, it's the judge. Oh, it's the government. Oh, it's this." What about their argumentation? Like, for example, when Tamara was having her second bail hearing, or the one that she was finally released on, right? There were so many now, I'm confused how many there was. But it was one of the very last ones. I was watching this. Resistance Cats was, doing a play-by-play on Twitter and explaining everything that was going on. And I'm reading this stuff while I was working, and I saw pop up that the Crown asked Tamara's surety if Tamara had been honest. And the response was, not always. And I hit the roof. And I thought, what? WTF? So I get my phone, I open up my Signal chat, and I could actually share it with all of you. Maybe I'll post it at some point. And I said to the lawyer at the time, Keith Wilson, I said to him, well, he wasn't, at that time, I don't know if he was my lawyer or not, but this was just a private conversation, right? And I said to him in this private conversation, and this was not an attack on him, I said to him, what is going on? Who prepped these people for court? Like, you got to prepare them so they know these sorts of questions and not answer the exact opposite of what I believe is the truth. And he responded, because at that point, he wasn't the lawyer. It was Greenspan, whatever it was. And he responded, I don't know, wasn't me. Okay, well, the next day he was on Tucker Carlson saying that you're the lawyer. So, when it's, I don't know, it was so frustrating to see that people weren't prepared. So I think there was some fault on all sides. I don't want to blame any one individual or any side. But yes, I agree. For sure she was targeted, but I think there could have been a lot more done on our side, which is why I got Jim Carahalios as my counsel, right? Karen, Jim, I completely agree. Buy the book and, buy this book and go out, do signings, get the book to your friends. Bring friends to events. Truth will prevail. It just needs to spread far and wide. Thank you, Karen. I agree 100%. Lots of hugs your way. Okay, we're getting Angela. I'm gonna defer that to the next time. She's asking me the MOU. The MOU was drafted in 2019 and had nothing to do with the Convoy, and then they Bowder tried to change it to make it relevant to the Convoy. And I've already explained that Tamara. It was brought up to my radar, I think, on the 25th, around the same time we were having a bunch of other stuff. And I called Tamara. I'm like, "What's this MOU thing I'm hearing about?" She says, "I don't know." So it took me a while figure out what somebody sent it to me, and I called Tamara back. I'm like, I don't know what this thing is on this website, but this is a joke. This is somebody who doesn't understand how our legal system works or our political system. They understand neither. Get rid of it. Please just remove it. So she said, okay, I'll make some calls and whatever, and I think they pulled it as a result. Then it was just so horrible. Oh my God, I feel my age when listening to Ben. I have no clue of what half the internet stuff is. I will take it slowly. That's why I said, this is not a Bitcoin conversation. I'm just mentioning in passing. And we can walk you through that in a beginner chat. It would be my pleasure. Okay, anyway, so that's my thing about the commission is it's going to be a report. It's not a ruling. 100% thank you for pointing that out. And it is what it is. We're going to see some recommendations, and I think everybody's going to be criticized, and we need to move on. And I think that's what the commission is. It's a tool. That's why it was drafted into law. It's a tool, and the report is a means for us to move on, right? We may not like the outcome, but that's what it is. Sonia, I love your positivity, BJ. Well, because, I don't know. I get so much out of life when I laugh and I'm positive and I'm doing other things for other people and they're doing things for me. It just kind of, I don't know. It's just, for me, it's a great frame to look at the world. And so that when things are thrown at you, like, I don't know, the government calling you terrorists, you're like, that's the government that's optics. It's political optics. We'll deal with it. Don't worry. Everybody chill. And that's kind of how I navigated the Convoy. And I think that's part of the reason Tamara kept coming to me to have hugs and just talk for a couple of minutes and get over some of the stress. Anyways, Karen, exactly. Northern BC, we're holding guest speakers and it's a packed house every time. I've seen people attend. I would not have expected. Unity is still here. John, maybe you should talk to Karen. Let me know if you want me to come out there. I've never been to Dawson's Creek, and we all know of Dawson's Creek, and I would love to get out there. And you and I got to go for some beers, man, and just spend some time together and chill. So let me know. Good, Lori. Good morning, y'all. Y'all happy to be here. Good morning. Anyways, okay. So a couple of comments, and then I'm going to cut it a day because I got to go to my truck and I got to get to the U.S. First comment was from Guillaume. And now, who's Guillaume? Guillaume is a guy who goes in a lot of the Twitter spaces that I've been going to. Very, very thoughtful commentary, and he's like your tip. I might be wrong, but this is how I view him. I view him as your typical. He's your typical French intellectual, French academic, and there's a difference in the Anglo world and the French world academia. The French world, I think, has been dominated by postmodernism, but he's not a postmodernist. He's the opposite. There are some very great philosophers that come out of France that are not postmodern, that are objectivists. And Guillaume reminds me of those sorts of people. He has very, very thoughtful takes, and he really wants to see. He's really attracted by positive worldviews, but objective and real. Was a strong supporter of the Convoy. He was there, I think, every day. He lives in Quebec. And there's no, like most people in Quebec, by the way, there's no friction between French Canada and English Canada in his mind. He has respect for the West as much as he has, French Quebec. And that's how I think most of us are. There's a few snobs in downtown Montreal and people in politics, but that's about it, right? If you ever go to like rural Quebec, my experience in rural Quebec has always been amazing. And Quebec City a little bit snobbish too sometimes in certain areas. But my experience in Quebec has always been great, right? And so he reminds me of that. Okay, that's kind of the frame that it's coming from. So he sends me this message about the book because he just finished yesterday. And he posted a couple of comments about it. He's the one who bought 5 copies of the book. And he bought 2 to put in his local coffee shop that are kind of lefty coffee shops as well, by the way. I guess first to see if they're going to burn it, but see if it changes some minds. So that might be something for people to consider. I don't know if it's your local church or your local community center, your local school. Maybe they would benefit by having a copy of Honking for Freedom. Because again, it's not just my story. I tell other people's stories here as well. The people trying to cross when they were crossing the country, because we interviewed a bunch of people. Dave Live from the Shed, we tell his story, what happened to him. So those chapters I'm not even in. I tried to get, multiple perspectives beyond just me. Anyways, so Guillaume's comment about the book when he finished it, he says, so good. Well, you got me teary-eyed twice, and I'm unemotional amongst engineers. He's an engineer. He says, heartfelt thanks for writing it. Peace, love, unity, and freedom. And to get that sort of comment of somebody who I respect intellectually, and, one end you have James Bowder, and then you have people like Guillaume. And that's not a snobby comment. That's just about people who are thoughtful in their commentary and will listen to everybody and have the ability to change their mind. That's what Guillaume is like. So I have a lot of respect for him and appreciate it. Got another comment that I really liked. This was awesome. My granddaughter did a presentation of your book. She titled it In the Past and The Future of Canada Now, Before and After. The before was the man in the wheelchair, and how this is how Canada has always been caring, loving, looking out for each other. The future was the use of Bitcoin and how it saved truckers' lives when government was looking out for itself, not them. She's only 16, but wise beyond her years. She did a podcast on free speech and how it's been smothered by governments, and what is the future? What is the future going to be like? You could tell it was a new thing for them, but my heart bursts with pride. How my heart bursts with pride that she saw the importance of that was great for me. Wonderful job, BJ. Have hit some very low spots in our country, and watching the truckers made me cry and be so full of pride. Then to come across you and your beacon of hope. Thanks a lot. You put a lot of faith in the inquiry. Lots of people put a lot of faith in the inquiry to only watch it be derailed by our supposed side. And then she goes on to, talk about some of the antics in the commission, which are accurate. But I don't want to rehash all that stuff. But thank you so much, and thank you so much to your 16-year-old granddaughter. And that's why I have hope. That's why I'm so positive, because you have a 16-year-old who's read this book, did a report on it, and is now going out and trying to tell everybody in the world about free speech and how the truckers tried to protect their speech and everybody else's free speech. That's why it came out of the commission, and that woman with the pride flag, with the honk honk, calling us terrorists, Benji, you're a terrorist. She kept doing it over and over again. And I turned my camera around, I held up my phone, and I said, the Freedom Convoy protected her right to free speech, much like it protected our right to free speech. She should be allowed to say that, and we should be allowed to say what we want to say and be able to respond. And to know that there's a 16-year-old girl out there who seems to be strident in her passion for free speech and free expression, and that we all collectively in this space, amongst the truckers, all of us who unified, John, who's hosting the speakers in northern BC and across the country, that all of us are strident in this belief and communicating it to the rest of Canada. That means we're going to get our freedoms back, and we're going to expand our freedoms. It's just going to take a little bit of time, right? A lie goes around the world twice before the truth gets its shoes on. And the truth is lacing up. And it starts with this, and it starts with you. It starts with all your comments out there and sharing different videos and articles. And I encourage you not to stop. This is a marathon. And if we keep running this marathon, we're going to be more free than we've ever been. And we're going to continue to be a beacon of hope for people around the world, right? And what they've done to Tamara in these proceedings will be yet another global embarrassment and stain on the legacy of Canada. But we'll move beyond that. So that's my personal opinion. Okay, a bunch of comments coming up. I'm running short on time here. I'm going to run. Yes, that tweet about Guillaume. I saw that. Great, thanks. Beautiful, thank you, K9. Lori, I agree. Okay, you're all talking amongst each other. And yeah, just before I go, I just want to say how much I appreciate all of you. You know, when I started doing this this stream, I didn't know if I was going to continue doing it. I knew I had to do something. I had to talk about, because I knew things were going to come up in the commission that were not accurate. And I knew there was a thirst for the truth from all of you. So many of you had followed me during the convoy as well, and that this was coming out. And I can't thank all of you enough for joining, for posting your comments, for sharing, for defending me when people are defaming me online. Often they're bots, by the way. Often they're just programmed API scripts. So, you know, the conservatives use it as well as the liberals because they go to the same firms to do it, right? Thankfully, Elon Musk on Twitter, which is kind of my main platform, seems to be putting into that slowly. So yeah, I can't thank you enough. And you know, this comment here, Eugene Trudeau must go. Let's hope Pierre fights more to get him out. Not one leader is not going to change everything. One election is not going to change anything, or not anything. It will change slowly, right? Changing government is like doing a U-turn in a battleship. It's long and laborious. So the trajectory we're on, it will definitely be slowed by a change of government, and that change in government will change. But the government doesn't run the country. You run the country. And the way to change things is reach out to your neighbors and your families and friends, not in a hostile way and criticizing them and calling them stupid because they're dumb libs. It's by saying, hey, I got a story for you. You need to know the truth. Or what do you think? What made you come to that conclusion that the convoy that was led by people from across the religious and ethnic spectrum
were white supremacists. They were Canadians first. They're just Canadian, just like you. And it's got to be the soft. It's got to be the soft approach, and it takes time. And that's how we'll reach those people. And that's why I tell people, make sure you have friends on the other side of the political spectrum. Don't ostracize them. Bring them together. And we're never going to agree on everything. But I think on the fundamental stuff, on freedom and love and peace and unity, I think we're all in agreement on that. Anyways, okay, I got to run. I'm super late. Sonia, as always, peace, love, freedom, unity, and hope. That's the big one. And I love you guys. Dr. G, thanks for coming in, brother. I'm just about to head out. Oh, crap, I'm a little bit late. Okay, I got to run. I got to get down to my truck and pick up my all my stuff. I love you all. I really do. I really appreciate you. I wish you understood how much I appreciate you. At some point, we'll all be face-to-face. And I can't wait to give you a hug or shake your hand. And thank you for everything. And we'll all talk soon. I got to run. Wish me luck in the States. We'll talk to you soon.